All right. Hey, everybody. This is Nephew Package Management Subproject meeting, April 25th. First day of the new sprint. Thank you, Bala, for running the meetings, covering things while I was out last week. And so glad to see we're making progress. And I guess thanks for getting us started setting up the board too.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Let's see, share screen. Not that. That. And I remember this time to turn off the audio. Okay, so this is our thing. We already have one thing done because it merged last night. It was all done last sprint, but then it hadn't merged. So I think that before I go item by item, the one thing I wanted to discuss was, and maybe I'll switch back where I can see people's faces, was should we, I'm hoping that at the end of this sprint, which is in 2 weeks, we'll have an end-to-end working solution. Even if it doesn't do all the things it's supposed to do, we'll be able to demonstrate something end-to-end. Wim, does that look like you're making good progress in the package specialization? What do you think about that?
I think for us, I think our main dependency will be the condition, this SDK, right? From the moment it's merged, because for me, doing end-to-end test means it's merged into the main thing, right?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so for me, I think the biggest thing that I see, because just to give you some context, John, I mean, we had a discussion this morning with IST because we are doing this library thing, right? We are going back and forth. So I decided with IST, we are going for the final thing. Okay, so meaning we just have get spec, set spec, get status, set status, and that's it. And we have this thing that today is extending the get function, which eventually should move to kept. So ST started to have a discussion because with UN, I think is the name. I don't.
Yeah,
maybe
UN,
I spelled it wrong.
Yep.
So, so the idea is to move it over there, but so we go for the final for that thing, and then so that's the library piece, but it's not the critical side. I think the most critical part is the conditional SDK. From the moment that's in, like IST created a test. So we are now building even a test framework for our space that is specific to specialization, which tests the whole pipeline for us.
Awesome. So I just approved that as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's a lot there. I can't say like, you know, your PR, I mean, for the
conditional SDK, but we'll have to iterate. Probably there will be bugs here and there.
Oh,
so
I'm sure.
We'll have to, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so for that.
But yeah. The other one big thing still left, but it's more the backend side we have to discuss, but maybe we should not do it right now. Maybe we can do it, or if we have time right now, is the strategy on merging of this backend. So there is the controller side. As for the specialization, the question is, what do we do with the backend? We had a discussion with Bala on that a little bit.
I just wanted to, okay, but it sounds like, yeah, so the framing it in the terms of like the sprint planning. So what does that mean for us if we want to get to end to end? I think we need our packages and instructions. We need, I think this is done, and we need like I think this one. We'll need some of these pieces done. I think Sandeep contacted me over Slack, and he put in a proposal here, so he's going to start implementing this. So I think that the question becomes what, which of these pieces need to be done to have something at least end to end roughly working. We probably need, I think do we have a UPF package already? I think we might already have a UPF package. So this is for.
Yeah, I think
I'm using that. We are using that for testing.
So I made a note actually, John, since this was the last but one sprint. I was just trying to make very high level notes last night.
Okay.
The important things that are needed from from each of us, each of our groups. Obviously, from the package management, I think the purge config injection, assuming we are also including that.
I'd like to, but again, I don't think that's 100% strictly necessary for end-to-end, but it's
yes,
necessary for one. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I mean, I was just
No.
I don't know where did my I think my notes, you know what I was just saying, it just crashed my atom.
Oh man, okay.
No, it's okay. I think it got, I was able to recover it. That is one thing, purge config. And the other one is the packages. Overall, I was thinking not only the MVP perspective, but overall overall our wish list, I would say, in the next 2 sprints, or that means like purge config injection and then the purge packages for the other 5GC functions. We are talking with Raj on that one, and the UI components and the installer components. I think those were from the package management side. I was thinking.
Okay.
The package, obviously, I mean, I might have excluded certain components. For example, obviously the controller manager. That's also one thing that we need.
Yeah.
The other thing is the package specialization. The function runtime is a big one. That is merged, and also the libraries, functions. Those things are looking good, and the controllers are also looking good. I think from a there is one thing on that side, on the package specialization side, is the how are we going to consume the backend for IPAM? That is one thing we need to discuss. The other big thing from the package specialization is the Edge Watcher server, the gRPC server. I don't know what is the status on that one, because as far as the board is concerned, I don't think that thing moved at all. So that's the status based on the library that Google
this
on Google Sheet Code.
Status aggregator piece.
Yes.
Okay. There is a design. There's a design from Steven, right? So we have to review. I still have to review that part.
Okay.
But if it's not there.
And that falls in the package specialization group.
True, that's true. Yes. It was the package specialization, yes.
So wait, so there is, but it fits into this design document, and then, because at the end of the day, it's kind of a bit of a sub thing besides us, because it touches workload specialization and management, right? Yeah. So first is we need a design, but then the components will each fit into that. So that's how I see it. But in my view, that's a big stretch goal for R1, in my view, this one.
So, but we were thinking, otherwise we will not be able to get the status at all, right? How do we get the status?
No, but okay. I mean, yeah. What I'm trying to say is that I 100% agree, Bella. I would love to have all of it. First thing, we have to get the whole thing connected, right?
Got it. I understand. No. I understand, Wim. I was thinking for the R1 perspective. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that only for the starting of the integration testing. I was just trying to figure out the big components, the big components that we need to do. I think from everything here, I think it was, if we go to the package specialization, if you don't mind, John, just a minute. Yeah. I think that's the one. Yeah. I don't think we got any traction on that one. So according to me, I was just trying to understand the risky pieces. That's why. That's all. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the risk, that is the
this
risk.
Is the big risk you're saying, is that we don't have anything right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let me, is Stephen or Arvind here? Let me see. Yeah, no, I don't see them either of them here. All right, let me follow up with them. So, okay, so this is the biggest R1 risk item we see right now.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying. Okay. All right. Let me do.
And on the workload cluster, we have enough controllers for the enough functions. I think that is progressing. And then the 5GC operator that is progressing. And also I'm not sure about the agent there, the watcher agent. We can go back and check there.
Okay, slow down. I want to take notes. Okay, biggest own risk items. So you just said a few more, right? You said so that one is this one.
Yeah.
And then you're also worried about the workload management side, or?
Yeah, the watcher agent. What is the? I'm not sure if Stahl here.
No, he doesn't usually come to this one.
Okay. I could not attend the other meeting because there was some internal. I wanted to ask him that question in that meeting, but yeah, that is let's note it down and understand the status of that one. The
Okay.
counterpart of
the 5GC operator, or which one?
No, the agent side on the.
Oh, the agent code.
Second.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do we think the operator's on track? Because I haven't.
Yes, I think so. I think I'm at least the progress has been made in the controllers and the operators. I know that.
Yeah, there is an SMF in the meantime. I heard that it runs. I don't think it's merged yet, but it seems that SMF was running. I saw this morning.
Okay, so we're concerned about that. And then on the package management side, so it sounds like, because right now Steven's on both of those things, like we might need more bandwidth there. Sorry, both of those things. I didn't finish my sentence. The other thing Steven's on is the NF topology controller.
Yeah.
And so like trying to do both of those things is probably too much. We might need we might need to see if somebody else can step up on one of those things. But I'll talk to Steven and Arvind are both tagged on whatever it went, this one, so I can talk to them about that, and then we can maybe in tomorrow's meeting with the larger group we can raise this as the risks and see where we stand. Yeah. But for this group, and I'm sorry if people are raising hands, I can't see when I'm on this tab, so just blurt things out.
Yes, actually, I wanted to raise it tomorrow in the bigger meeting, John. Yes. But since we were talking about larger scope, I just thought of giving a heads up, and that my intention is to come up with some plan and see what we can achieve in the next 2 months.
That sounds awesome. Thank you. Okay, then let's go through this quickly. I want to just anybody jump in, like if there's topics you want to discuss, but mostly I was going to just say we're continuing the things that we left off on. I said Sandeep's not here, but he reached out to me on Slack. He's got that started. Simon's been doing a bunch of work on this. Did you want to say anything, Simon? Is there anything blocking you? Or?
No, I don't think there's a particular blocker. There's obviously some things that need to be changed that we already reviewed. I think the big thing here is that it kind of depends on 2 upstream PRs. I've linked them in the ticket. So yeah, finger crossed that the upstreams get merged, and then yeah, we need to find a way in KPT to include the upstreams. I think this will be also one of these weird situations. We will see either, like, I hope that the upstream versions can just make releases because they do patch releases and everything. And it might make sense, at least for one of the changes, for them to do an upstream release, and then we could just, in the Go mod file, just link to the updated version. Yeah, it's all a bit of a long rat's tail. It's basically, we want some. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Wim, go ahead.
No, I just wanted. I was just asking, what is this PR about? Is to modify the pipeline in the package variant?
So there's 3 ways that we're talking about. So if you go look at the package variant design, there's 3 ways in which you can use the package variant resource to modify the downstream package from the upstream. One way is there's a package context. You can add and remove entries from the config map. The second one is you can, and this is the one Simon's working on, is you can add functions to the pipeline, and they'll just become part of the kept package pipeline. We're not running functions within the package variant controller directly. Instead, we're just adding to the pipeline. It's much simpler. And then the third one is config injection, which we have not yet started the implementation of, other than what we did back in the workshop. There's code that we can potentially use. So that's
The
that's
reason,
the
yeah.
second one. The
The
first
reason
one
why
is
I'm asked is the reason why I'm asked is that the guy from BMW in the offline feedback from my session in KubeCon asked about this.
oh really? Okay.
Yes.
Well,
I just wanted to let you know.
Direct him to the package.
Simon, yeah, it's a guy in Germany, so you're close.
Hey.
Yeah, I go. No, he comes by. He's like, "Oh, where is it?"
I did not say that, so I said, "Well, I'll look into it. I'll come back to it." But I just wanted to understand. But so it was a question that was raised after my session.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah. Put him in touch with Simon or me, and I'd be happy to chat with him.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
I'm always looking for additional use cases, right? Obviously, BMW is not an FEO, but I'm always looking for other users to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, sure.
So
that's it from my side on that topic. So I think if realistically, I mean, I think I can adapt the changes that you mentioned tomorrow or maybe the day after. So then that is done, and then we'll see. I mean, last resort is we could go the way that Morten suggested, where we just have the KPT file as a string, which is like super ugly and it doesn't make it nice also for the injection feature or for anything that has like the KPT file. Sorry, it has like the mutators and so on in there, but yeah, last resort. But let's resort to the good thing first and keep the last resort last.
okay.
And
all
for
right,
some
sounds
reason,
good.
my name changed in Slack here in the Zoom. What's that now?
You're
What's
John.
this?
You're not John.
Yeah, I'm not John. What?
Oh, okay.
What is
Yeah, no,
this?
I did that accidentally. That's what I said. I thought I renamed myself properly.
Yeah, but you renamed me.
I renamed you. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Because I looked at it, it still said PMO admin. I'm like, I just renamed myself. Why does it still say PMO admin?
Okay, well, at least that answers that. All right, that's all from my side.
Like
Okay.
it's very cloning.
I was wondering how Simon became John. I was wondering myself.
My mustache is not nearly so fancy.
You're applying packets variant set into Zoom.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Then let's okay. So so I'll push on those upstream things and see if I can make those happen.
Okay.
Okay, so then next item. Yeah, this one. We've got a bunch of people signed up, but I know that Nokia has some CLA issues here, so I'm planning on working on this sprint, and I'm happy to work with anybody who wants to chime in as well. All right, next one. So this is kind of the overall installation. Who is it assigned? Vish and Ravi, are either of you here?
Yeah, I'm here. So one of the action items was to actually talk to Victor. So hopefully he's back and we should be able to talk to him this week. But in general, I was looking at that particular story. I mean, last week I was busy with trying to bring up a kube admin cluster. But when I look at the wording of this, maybe something that I need to work with Bala and others is the outcome that we probably want. If I read this, I already feel that, hey, I have installed these clusters multiple times and I see that we have a way to get the packages and we are actually building a cluster. Now, is there something that we can extend it to our end-to-end or to our CI/CD, like sort of? Because as we get other packages being created, we want to be able to make sure, because I see the value there, wherein whenever we actually are pushing more packages for UPF or AMF, we probably need to make updates and we need to probably have some sort of a verification mechanism that we are pulling all of this and the cluster comes up as part of the pro job. That I see there's a value had intermediately that we can probably had is what I'm thinking. This came about this morning. So not sure what you guys are thinking. Yeah.
So yes to all of that, but that's not with this particular issue is about. This is trying to get at from an end user point of view. Like if we layer it, I think we've talked about, I think you've already said this in the past, but just to give the context of this issue, like, right, it's a layered thing where if I'm an end user, I mean, obviously in R1, nobody's going to put this in production because nobody's putting free 5GC in production, but, and for other reasons, but like, I want to be able to have the infrastructure in place such that, right, somebody can come to the Nefio project and say, oh, I want to play with something. Okay, we've got that. That's our sandbox, and it's fully vertical stack. But that's just for playing with things. If they were like, I have an environment and I'm going to bring my own cluster and I want to install Nefio on it, how do I do that?
Yeah.
I need a set of instructions. You know, okay, you pull this package and you run kept live apply or whatever it is, or you run the installer that Victor's writing, like whatever it is, we need those packages and we need those instructions from the point of view of
somebody who has got a pre-installed cluster. And that is the use case I exhibited last week, which was actually bringing up kubeadmin clusters. And I was able to use our Ansible scripts and apply to those actual clusters. So that is the one I'm also going to discuss with Rado also. But in the meanwhile, since it was something that came last week, that instruction is available. To what you are exactly talking right now, I have tried them without having to do anything outside of using whatever Ansible scripts that we already have. And then when the installer comes, that becomes another option.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's like, I don't want people to have to understand all our Ansible scripts. So the instructions have to be.
Yeah, it will just be like, you do a CD, you go get this. The only thing you probably need to do is install Ansible and you're able to. What I will do is, I'm going to go update this comment, update the issue with the comments, with the set of instructions that I had to execute to apply it on an existing cluster, which I did last week. So that's what I'll do as an action item next. And then we can refine it or add to the scope as we go along.
Okay, awesome. Wim?
Yeah, so I had some discussion with Victor because he was also in KubeCon last week, by the way. So we spent quite a bit, so this was convenient. So we spent about 2 hours or something together. And we discussed the installer and stuff like that a little bit because the reason he is building an installer is because, so I gave him 2 kept functions. So I think what Victor is trying to do with the installer, you can do with a kept package with 2 functions. And I think for me, what this item is not is the Ansible playbook. What I think this item is about, in my view, is we have to create a package which contains our artifacts for the management cluster, right? And we need, so like we have today, free 5G, we have Nefio packages or something like that you created, John, for the workshop, right?
Yeah.
So we need something similar to that, right? With potentially a set of kept functions. Like he was making an installer to replace an item in a YAML file. I said, you shouldn't create code for that. We have a function, search and replace, right? You see, so if we build a package here, so remove some of the Ansible, create a package with the necessary artifacts and the functions in it that allows us to install wherever we want. We just create that package and we can then, you can use it with Ansible or something like that. But in my view, if we can do that, this will cover both this item as well as the installer.
That's kind of, yes, that's kind of what I was thinking. Because like partly it's like a dog fooding thing, right? We want to show people, here's the process for installing Nefio. We use the same tools that we're going to tell you to use to install your network functions. And so I think there's value in that.
So I gave Victor a bit the search and replace. I gave an example how we're using it. We was going to look at it. I didn't hear back from him so far. And there was one thing, whether we were not sure because he had this one string blob. So because we are using, so there's a config with a pipe and then it's seen as a string blob. I don't know whether search and replace function of kept work in that environment. So we was going to test that. But if that would work, we could just create a kept package with functions and then with some context and just apply. And then you can do the whole thing.
So Wim, I mean, is your idea that you would run it from, I mean, the idea is that you want to kind of have a management cluster and the workload clusters and the related configuration. So you would run it some other host to.
See, today we are doing in the Ansible playbook, that task is done for you, right? But here it's basically, there is already a cluster in place, right? So someone created it. We have no clue about it, right? Now you want to install, and I think this step was to install all the management cluster artifacts, right? So if we create a package like we have today, Nefio packages that John created with the necessary kept package, so it's a package with sub packages basically, and then we have to add the functions inside of that kept package. So if you execute it, that you have some parameters that are customized for yourself, right? With that, you can basically do some of that stuff. Because Victor was creating an ingress, and I also have ports and the UI and stuff like that. So there is a few YAML files that we need. But for me, it's a good proof point that what we are doing with kept and ports and config as data, we can apply not just to Nefio, but also how Nefio is using it to get it installed.
So to your point, Wim, I think there are two things coming out of this. One is, I am now used to the Ansible scripts, okay? That is one thing. So I'm going to make that comment. And second thing, so there are certain assumptions here that there is this Nefio GitHub repo that as actually created by John for the workshop VM. I'm thinking that or an equivalent is always going to be there, because we will be the one publishing those web UI and the system packages, correct? That is going to come from, it will be in a standard GitHub URL. So me and Ravi will get together later, and our comments to this issue will be like, hey, there are two ways you can go about this as of today. If somebody were to actually go off and install the Nefio management cluster, you have an existing cluster, these are the steps you can follow. One is if you use Ansible, you can go this way, or if you don't want to use Ansible, you just need to use kept and a bunch of these other prerequisites, and you should be able to still apply some of these packages using kept function, where you actually pull it and you're able to render it. So we will do that. So thanks for bringing up the second point. I think me and Ravi will go ahead and add that as at least a comment, and continue to keep it in progress until the end of the, if there are more packages. I don't know, are you anticipating any more scope changes to the management system? I'm thinking Porch is coming in.
For the most part, we'll have a package that does most of the stuff in the management cluster, where you will have things. It's like you'll be like, well, I want to be able to provision GKE clusters. I'm going to use KCC. I want to be able to provision EKS clusters. I'm going to use AWS. Those will be separate packages you would install as upstream things. So those are different, right? But for the most part, the Nefio packages. Now, there is a separate issue, I think, in the SIG release about how we do what you were bringing up earlier, Vish, how we manage the CI and the versioning in the pipeline of those packages. I think we can discuss that as a separate package, a separate time. Bala?
Yeah.
Go ahead, then Bala.
No, I just, sorry, maybe it's important to get the context what I discussed with Victor. Victor was working on two tools, by the way. One is setting up clusters and so on and so forth, and creating a network environment through a Go file so that you don't have a binary and stuff like that. There was the second tool, which was the installer, just to set up the management cluster and stuff like that without all the rest of the components. My comment on the kept package was on the second, not on the first, just to be clear, right? Because the first one, where you need network connectivity and the whole shebang, I'm not sure whether we can do all of that already with kept packages. Maybe I haven't thought that through, but the second one, which is basically installing the management cluster with all its artifacts and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure, except for one open point, that kept we can do it.
Yeah.
On that point, sorry, Bala, I keep pushing you. We should eventually be able to do everything through.
Yes.
Basically, we just bootstrap the Nefio management cluster with the one kept live apply. Then we can use the Nefio tooling to create workload clusters, to create the networking between them, to create the repositories, to hook up those repositories in Porch. All of it can be done. And I actually have experimented with that on the repository side. So we don't have controllers right now for actuating networking, the transport effectively. Bala?
Yeah, my suggestion is, yeah, I mean, thanks for multiple. I know we could solve this in multiple ways. And then my suggestion is to actually do it in one way for R1, keeping in mind of time constraints. And choose whatever way we are comfortable with, do it. And then, so let's remember, when we do one way, and obviously that means we are supporting what we publish, we have to do that end-to-end testing of both the methods. So my suggestion is to stick to one thing, whatever we have more experience or more artifacts already present. So, and then go with it.
I think it's layered at this point, Bala. So like the Ansible calls the kept anyway, right? So like if we layer it, then it's not so much multiple ways as it is a stack of ways.
Okay, I see what you mean.
That's what I would prefer to see, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with John. It should be layered. And by the way, for me, the fact that we could use kept to do this, I agree with you, John. There is pieces missing right now, right? But for the management side, we have everything, I think. And it's a good way to say, because I rather see, here is my view. I rather create a function than write a specific tool to do an install that eventually will have to evolve. I rather write, let's say, search and replace has a missing feature, right? I rather fix it or add a feature to it rather than creating a specific install tool just for us. Because at some point we are using kept and ports and config as data as our one of the main themes that we are trying to push. So if we can prove ourselves that we can consume it, not just as a management, but also as an installer and stuff like that, we prove a bigger picture.
Yes, I agree. And we also fill in gaps that it's missing potentially.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So, but isn't this particular story is more fundamental bootstrap story where we have to install? We are talking about installing Porch, all
right. So you can do that with kept live apply, right? So that's what we did.
Yes.
If you go back to the workshop and you read the instructions, that's actually we later added the Ansible pieces because we wanted to set up clusters and all that stuff. But if you actually go read the original instructions, which we did for people in the VM in the workshop, we didn't make people go through this, but it's using the tools to use kept live apply to install the Nefio components in the management cluster and also in each of the workload clusters. And then I think the Ansible just calls those things, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. The only thing what Ansible does is it's just YAML files that is basically customized and templates, and so I think it's worth spending some time doing this because I think it will help us to see how far we can go with kept.
Yeah. And also Ansible did it for both management and the workload clusters as well. And in this particular case, which is specific to Nefio management cluster, that is what I was saying. I'll go put my comments. Me and Ravi will meet and put my comments, and then Bala, Wim, and John, you guys can comment on that if you have any.
Because if we write a small thing, right, that basically takes a YAML file for kind cluster and it boots up a kind cluster, you basically solve already a big part of the problem. And so we could do something like that. To be honest, I'd rather spend my time on this because it moves us to the direction we want to do. That was my whole discussion with Victor.
That's a good point. Yeah. Right. Okay. I have one. Sorry, we're getting off topic. I have one for doing. I found a thing for creating GitHub repos. So if we had a controller that created Git T repos, then right. Anyway, we're getting off topic. We're actually already over time. I'm supposed to only have this as a 30-minute meeting, so we better move on. I think we said this one is basically
that one should be ready. I think.
Is it?
I think Victor said he's going to create a document, and then we can close this one.
And then we can close it. Okay.
Yeah.
Stephen's not here. He did submit something. I reviewed it. So we have a start on that at least. And then this one we really just talked about. So I think we're through the things that are in progress. Does anybody like, there's more, this I tried to rename. I don't know why it's not renaming for me. But
Sahid is here. I think we can talk about the UI.
yes, excellent idea. Thank you. Yeah, so here, let me switch back to where I can see.
Chandra is also here.
Just
Sahid, is he still here?
Yeah, hello, Joe.
Okay.
So actually, we are working on this. So I discussed with Sahir and Ganesh with this, and still we are working on the designing part. So once we give for review designing part, then we'll start working on that.
Okay. Do you have you want an issue created for?
I think we already have ticket created for that 119 ticket. Yeah, we already have ticket for that.
All right, so you're working. Okay, awesome. So that's in progress. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So
and we actually, sorry to disturb, like we need to discuss few more things regarding that. So can I ping you tomorrow regarding this?
Absolutely, yeah, no problem.
Yes.
This PR merged, so you might want to go into here and look at this design, and like since it's a design, there's some APIs defined in the design that are not yet in the actual code base because we haven't implemented it yet, but it might be useful. So you might want to go look at it. You don't necessarily need to go through all the details of everything it does, because I know that you're still onboarding on Kubernetes things and stuff, but like the fields that would have to be edited and things are going to be in there.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, let's ping me tomorrow, and we can. I know, so I'm usually in by 8:30 my time, and our meeting's at 9, so that's probably a good. Unless I have another meeting, then that's probably a good time.
I'll ping you before we start the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be fine.
Yeah, about 8:15. Yeah,
because like I am facing some issues while setting up environment also.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's why.
Okay.
I need some of your help regarding that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just let me know.
Okay.
All right, then.
We have raised hand, John. We have Peter raised hand. Yeah, Peter, please go ahead.
I know we are after time, but thanks. I'm from Orange, as you may know. So I would ask you about implementing kept packages for all 3.5GC functions. The issue, I mean, it's assigned for the Eric, but in fact, it will be me probably who will do this task.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. We just wanted to assign it to Eric in the sense that we just wanted to know whether you were able to contribute. That's why it said so. But if it is, if you're fine, he told me that you're still getting the approval for CLA, etc., from your internal team. Is that solved?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the problem that it's assigned for the Eric for me. I mean, I would like to talk with someone. I mean, I just saw that there is this issue requirements for E2E tests bed, so I'm not maybe up to date. I was really busy last week, but I would like to discuss with someone the target infrastructure. I mean, because there are already some kept packages, right, which I presented on the presentation, but I had a talk with him on the on the kubecode. And we are discussing about the multi-cluster, etc. So I wonder if there is anything to do with the other network functions, or we need to adjust something, you know, if there will be multi-cluster in sense of control plane, or if we will introduce some additional interface for the other kept functions, or we stay with the SBI via cluster IP services, that kind of stuff.
So it's not clear for me.
Should I chime in, Piotr?
Yeah.
So I had a discussion with Piotr last week when we were discussing some of the things. So one of the, so I think there is two questions, Piotr, on this one. One is, and that's related to the CLA, whether the packages that you created, which are on the orange, on your account, I think it's even your personal account, I think, whether we could consume them if we would move them into Nephew, whether it's a problem for that. So that's one. And then the second thing is how to put it together. What we have decided for now is that SBI will be on the default cluster network. So it means, so what we basically what we want from these packages to happen is that they would install NRF, AUDSF, all the things. So everything except for UPF, SMF, and AMF. Okay.
So Mongo included, right? Mongo should supposed to be in this.
MongoDB, you mean?
Yeah, because it's required for the 3.5GC to work properly.
Yes, yeah, correct. Yeah, that has to. But for 3.5GC, for which piece? For the AUDSF? Or UDM?
I don't know the dependency for NRF, I think.
For NRF, but that's fine. Yeah, yeah. I know. The reason I'm asking is because my understanding is for AMF, UPF, and SMF we don't need it, but maybe for the other functions we do. So if you need it, yes, you should install it. Okay.
Yeah. So regarding the first, if I can answer regarding the first question. It's true that the CLA is not yet completed, but I need to think with Derek because in fact, I just rendered the Helm packages which are already open sourced. So there is nothing, there is no additional value from Orange side. So I don't think there is any problem taking these kept packages because it's almost the same as the Helm charts which are open source. So regarding this, just let me ask Eric tomorrow if it's okay. I will, I don't know, maybe write on the Slack if it's okay to take this. So at the second one, you said we stay with the defaults, right?
Yes. So that means so we had a bit of a discussion with Piotr on in the KubeCon on how this was done in Orange, because for them they have a single cluster, we have multi-cluster. Which means that we have to extend the service mesh across multiple clusters to be able to do so. So just, John, I think you were not there when we discussed this, but we had a discussion with Steven and so on and so forth. So so we have a bunch of networks, right? We have, so all the SRIOV, the secondary interfaces, right? Which is N6, N3, and 4 and stuff like that, right? So they go to multis.
So we need
but then you have the so there is the SBI interconnection. So the SMF and AMF interconnects and with the NRF and stuff like that. So typically that happens through the regular cluster network, and there is typically a service. So okay, if you are running it in a single cluster, it's not a problem. But if you run across clusters, you need a way to interconnect. So you need, for example, the AMF. Let's say the AMF runs on cluster A and SMF on cluster 2, right? They will discover each other via NRF, which might run on cluster 3 or also cluster 1 and 2. So DNS-wise, they have to resolve each other and stuff like that. So what Piotr did is they used, what was the tool again that you used, Piotr?
For the service mesh, we used the Submariner because it's simple.
Yeah, Submariner, yeah, correct. So, so they will have to install all of these things in order to make this happen, basically. But that's the design that we opted for, Piotr.
Yeah, okay. But I think if you use Submariner, there is, I mean, the service names stay the same. There is the fully qualified domain name is not changed, I think, which is case probably in Istio, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but we can use, we are not so much tied to what we use. We just need to ensure that we have communication, because if the SMF and AMF or NRF runs on different cluster, we have to be able to communicate and resolve the DNS names. So we need to have something that does that, unless we say we all schedule them on the same cluster, in which case we don't have this problem. But
So
I think it's better to design that we can do it.
So Wim, I think for the R1, I think when we were thinking of introducing this feature, we were trying to understand the scope and especially the scope creep. And then Stephen was saying probably for R1, we will let all the control functions run in one cluster and UPF on the other cluster, and that way we can wrangle the scope.
If that's the case, then we can avoid that component. So then we all run in the same cluster, and then you don't have to extend it and do it locally.
Yeah, just for R1, and then probably enhance it prior to R1, because this was an added scope. That's how I remember it.
In theory, right? Like this becomes something that's not even part of the release, right? This becomes something that you can make a new package that you can apply to R1 and it can do all of this. Like if we get there, like that would be my hope, that like we should be able to do different architectures. The whole point is, right, the Nefio shouldn't dictate the architecture of your network, right? We should be able to implement different network architectures. So hopefully we'll be flexible enough even in R1 to do that. It's just what we build to demonstrate it. We don't necessarily have time to build all of that right now. And with, I mean, it sounds like Orange has maybe already done it, so maybe we do. I don't know, but we'll let's take it one step at a time. That makes sense, Paula. Like let's put them all in one for now, and then we can add on more complexity later.
Yeah, because our grand goal is still to make end-to-end calls.
Yes.
Sure.
So if we achieve that with two clusters, then probably to Wim's point, we can expand that use case.
But then I think, Piotr, towards your point, is the minimum thing that we would hope that you guys can handle is create the cat packages to be installed in a single cluster. So everything except for AMF, UPF, and SMF, and they all should use the default CNI.
Okay, sure. So maybe two more questions. The first one regarding, probably not, but are you targeting to change any of service layer configuration? I mean, slices, network slices, that
not in R1.
networks.
No.
Okay, okay. So it stays as default. Okay.
Yeah.
And one, are you going to use UE Ransim for the
yes
tests?
Yes.
Okay. So for UE Ransim, there are also, as you may know, reference points like N2, N3.
Yeah.
So this will be also the configured manually, right?
Yeah. So we will tell you which networks you connect to. So so is it correct that he connects to N6 and N2 and then N2 and N3?
Not N6. I mean, it's N2 and N3. The PDU7 is via N6, but it's nothing. I think
okay.
There's nothing special with N6.
And URM sim, where does it run? Does it run on a cluster, or does it run on a VM, or does it run on as a container?
It depends. If you run the Ransim on the same cluster as the control plane, then you can use SBI for, I think. And
that's not what we were planning to do. I think we were planning.
But
I don't know, Raf is.
There is also configuration with the node port, I think. The second option to connect and to with AMF.
But wait a minute. So first of all, is the URM sim, is that a container or is it VM?
It's containerized. Yeah. I mean,
okay, so
we have Helm charts.
So do we want to run it on a cluster, or do we want to run it outside of a cluster? I prefer to run it outside of the cluster because then it's a real life scenario. And we would connect, we would give you, we can connect you to the networks, to the N2 and N3 networks that we have. So we can do that. And you just need one network basically to be connected, which is the N2 and N3. And so you send traffic in and it comes through N6, it comes back. And so it's like a real, you're emulating a UE basically. So then is it okay that we just give you a UE N2, N3 network and that's it?
I think so. I never use the UE runtime outside the container, but there shouldn't be any problem. If there is connectivity on N2 and N3, it should be okay.
Yeah, so that's what we should assume then. But I
mean, we could run it in an alternate cluster that represents the UEs or the RAN or whatever. Yeah.
We can either run it in a container straight, right? Or we can run it in a cluster somewhere, but not on the, I would propose not to run it on the, not on the control plane cluster because that's cheating. Then we are cheating.
Yeah, of course.
So Piotr, just logistically, are you in the org?
No, John, that was my next question. I was trying to add to him. So Piotr, I was not able to add you to that issue.
Yeah.
I think you need to.
I need your GitHub ID, and then I can invite you to the org.
So if you can send your GitHub ID to John, probably he can add it, Piotr.
Yeah, I just sent in the Zoom chat.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, but with the code contribution from my side, we need to wait for the CLA, right? And I will ask managers if you could take without me involved in this the kept packages which are already on my repo.
Did you want to join any other teams? It doesn't really mean much, just means you get tagged when people use the...
I mean, I track the specialization.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
So you have to accept that invitation, yeah. So.
I will, thanks.
Yep. All right, I think that covers it, unless there's some other issue on the board here, which I
think that covers incidentally everything on board, John.
Yeah, and then some. Okay, awesome. Thank you everybody for hanging around for an extra half hour, and we'll talk tomorrow on the bigger picture stuff. And yeah, let's get this moving. I feel like we're making progress, so really happy to see it. So awesome. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone.